Hello, everyone. I'm live. Welcome back to MindShift Mondays. I'm here every Monday at 7 o'clock, and I talk about something different. So we have a whole series of that I've been talking about called character assessment. And the reason I take a deep dive into different characteristics that we need to pay attention to those who are around us. Just to recap, the reason why this matters is because not paying attention to the characteristics, the patterns of behavior that reveal character around us are the major reason for some of the colossal mistakes we make in life. And many of our mistakes can be avoided, through that lack of wisdom, if we just simply begin to assess those we keep around us, because those you keep around you, they determine your future. They affect where you are now. They are affecting your life. And so it's a big deal. And some of the things I'm going to say might be uncomfortable, but they're true, and I'm going to say them anyway. And this is nothing that I'm saying is about judgment, but about making sure that you have a balanced view of who you have around you and who you keep around you. So I tend to talk about principles over details, and I will always teach that principles are more important than details. One of the reasons, I'm going to give you a little sidebar about that. One of the reasons why we tend to miss the point in life and we miss the lesson because we're paying attention to the details and we're missing the principle behind the lesson. So then life has to teach us all over again. And that might be why you keep repeating the same thing with different details, because you didn't learn the first time. Just a little thought of a seed thought right there. So I really do messages that are for everyone, but this particular series is actually for everyone. So, the areas of there's 3 areas in which your character assessment absolutely applies. And that is dating, friendships, and business partnerships. And I'm going to talk about all 3. All right, so let's dive into what today's topic is. So today it's called, Are You Listening? So you probably haven't guessed what that actually means, but we're going to talk about your biggest tool of all. So the past couple of weeks I talked about negative things that you want to look for, stay away from. Right now, I want to talk about a positive thing that you have in your tool bag right now, whether you realize it or not. And that is your inner voice. Some people call it intuition. Some would call it the Holy Spirit. Others would say your gut. Others would say, something tells me. And there's many other names and phrases that you want to call that inner voice. I will choose to use the word intuition. So no matter what word you use, I'm going to use the word intuition, because to be intuitive means to be in tune. And if you want to be in tune with your inner voice, that is when you can begin to make wiser decisions. And I'm going to talk about how. So we all know what a radio is. And even if you're younger and you haven't listened to the radio, you still know what it is. So with a radio, you tune into 96.3, 95.5, whatever the radio station is, right? The radio waves are always there. They're always playing. However, you're not going to hear what's being played at that radio station on those radio waves until you tune into the station. All of us come with radio waves. We just have to tune in. The radio waves are there for all of us. I don't care what your religion is, what your spiritual beliefs are. This is a principle that is true across the board, and based on your beliefs, religious beliefs or other beliefs, is how you're going to phrase it differently and how you're going to name it differently. But the principle is the same no matter what your belief system is. If you tune in, you turn your radio on instead of leaving it off. We're all radios. But sometimes we choose to turn it off. When you have a bad feeling about something or someone, you're right. You are usually right. Now, I want to go back to explain a little bit about the radio thing to clarify. So, we are all radios. Every single human being is a radio. You can leave your radio off and you will never hear the music. Or you can turn the radio on and tune into to a station and hear what's being played. Very often, our spirit man will pick up on things that your logical brain does not. I'm calling that intuition for the sake of using a word. So your intuition will pick up on things that your logical brain will not, because your intuition is far more in tune with what your brain and eyes cannot see. It can feel things that your brain cannot comprehend just yet. See, the difference between logic and intuition is logic is slow, like a turtle. Logic waits for there to be proof before it allows you to act. Intuition is like, something's wrong. This ain't right, or this is good, whatever the case may be, and then acts based on that. It doesn't wait for proof. It doesn't need it. Now, I'm not saying that you need to just go all willy-nilly, go all with your feelings, and not use any common sense or wisdom. What I'm saying is there's so many of you, and I see this every day, all the time, who are turning off your radio, and then you miss what's happening because you're not here listening to the station. And that radio is telling you everything that's going on around you, but you're not paying attention to it. Why? Because you've tuned it out, because you've turned it off. Now, as Americans, especially as Americans, more than most other cultures in the world, we are adamantly taught to turn our radios off. We are absolutely taught to not use most of our brains. We're told only logic is all that matters. That's it, etc., etc. It's a lie. It's not true. And it's why we are one of the dumbest nations on earth right now. In the developed world, we are one of the dumbest nations right now. It is. Just ask. So just start talking to people from other countries, and you'll see that is just true. And you can look at numbers. It's just true. In first world countries, we're at the bottom of the barrel right now. And there's many reasons for that. But one of it is that we have chosen to not use common sense. And some people would put some of what I'm talking about in the category of common sense. Sometimes it can be. But your intuition is important, and you shouldn't turn it off. Many of you, everybody, every single person within the sound of my voice right now, you can think of a situation right now where you knew something was off. You knew something wasn't right. You knew that person, something was off about them. And then later, but you ignored it, and you were like, well, I don't really have proof. So maybe I'm just being judgmental. Maybe I shouldn't think that. And you tune it out, you turn it off, and you ignore it. You put it to the side. Only later you're going to find out that person was a cheater, that person was a liar, that person stole, this person, whatever the details are. Because you turned it off. Don't turn it off. Start listening to that inner voice. Now, how this applies in dating, especially dating, most of us already know within a couple of days of meeting someone whether or not they're right for us or whether or not something's off. And sometimes because we don't want to be lonely and we want somebody, we're like, maybe I should give him a chance. When intuition was already like, don't put your foot in that mess. But you didn't listen. And then you have a heartbreak a year or 2 or 10 years later. Or a month later, whatever it is. Listen to that, especially when dating. Dating is it's so important that you know who you're dating and that you are careful about who you're dating. Because when you let somebody in and you allow them to be in your life, they're affecting you. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. They are. And if you don't use intuition, if you don't pay attention, when you get those cues, if you don't tune into the radio station, you will miss it. You will miss it, and you will make a colossal mistake that will end up in heartache. And now that's made you bitter for the next person or broken for the next person, whatever your details are. And when it comes to friendships, this is really important. I would say one of the biggest ways that I see people needing it in friendships, needing to use this in friendships, is when you feel like somebody's lying or like there's jealousy or there's ill will there or there's a feeling and you can't quite put your finger on it. You're always right. I have found that when people feel that way, they're always right. So when you feel like something's off, something is off. Whether you know what that something is or not is another story. I would say have a conversation with that person to find out what that something is, if they're willing to be honest, and not everybody is, but at least try. But if you feel like something's off, you're right. You're right. When it comes to business partnerships, it's just as important. People think, oh, you're not supposed to use that in business partnerships. The hell you aren't. You should use this just as much in business partnerships as you should with dating, because someone you're getting into a business partnership with can affect your life in different ways than someone who's dating, but still just as big and important. And if you feel like they're saying all the right things, they're showing me all the right stuff, but something's off, I would listen to that very, very strongly, because I have often seen where they were right, and many monies later, many, ruined reputations later, many frustrations later, they're like, damn it, I knew I should have listened. If something is telling you, if your intuition is telling you, don't talk about personal stuff in front of a person, then don't do it. You don't need to know why. It'll come out later. But my point is, I'm saying all of this to you. This is the end of the year right now. It's December 30th, for those of you who see this in the future, of 2024. Make a decision that you're going to go into 2025 listening. Ask yourself, am I listening? What did I notice about that person? And here's the other thing. Your intuition, like anything else, needs to be developed. And if you have never developed it because you've only used logic your entire life, and you've been told to shut up and close it down and shut it down your entire life, well, ain't much. You haven't used it yet. So you're going to need to develop it. And I will tell you, I have made colossal mistakes because I chose to ignore that inner voice. I chose to try to, what I call, logicalize. I chose to try to explain away my feeling or what I was sensing about a situation or a person. And afterwards ended up going, man, I should have listened. And I know most of you know what I'm talking about, because you've done it too. You've been through it too. And I have learned to just simply listen. So my hopes are that you will go into 2025, write it down on a piece of paper and slap it on the mirror in the bathroom. Are you listening? You know what it means. Are you using your intuition? Try to work on that. And I'm not saying you need to go crazy and go to some spiritual guru. What I'm saying is that you need to make an effort, because every single one of you can think of a situation right now where you didn't listen to your gut, your intuition, your inner self, whatever word you want to use. Listen to him or her, because they know more than you do. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. This will be available for replay. I'll be back again next Monday at 7. And if there's a particular topic you want me to talk about, I got a list, but I can add it to the list. Let me know. Thanks.